Hi guys, it's Amy with A2Z Stamping.com, and today I wanted to make a video to show you the difference between our rubber stamps and our photopolymer stamps. I know back when I started stamping, it was a little confusing which was different, and so I thought I'd make a quick video. Alright, so when you're looking through the catalog, this is just an example, you'll notice that stamps will either say rubber stamps or they'll say, let's find it right here, photopolymer stamps. All right, so let's talk about the rubber stamps first. When a set comes in rubber stamps, you always have two choices, and they're two different item numbers and two different prices. The choices are, they're all going to be our red rubber stamps, but the difference is you get them with the wood blocks. So if you've been stamping for a really long time, like more than 10 years, you know how the stamps always came with the maple wood blocks, and your stamps would be on those, and you'd have the blocks. Or now you can buy them without the blocks, and we call those the clear mount stamps because they mount onto clear blocks. And always in the catalog with any of our stamp sets, it will always tell you which size blocks you're going to need to use this stamp set. All right, and I'll talk about the blocks in a minute. So let me show you the rubber stamps. So let me grab, here's an example of some of our rubber stamps. This one, let's see, Artistically Asian. So when you get the set and open it up, this is what it's going to come like. There will be this little sticker sheet, and then they come like this. And I already punched one out, but they just come flat. There's no more days of having to cut them out and all that. You just literally pop them out of the rubber, pop all of them out, and then you would, once they're all popped out, you can just throw this away. And then on the back, there's like a little sheet, and you just peel that off. That gets thrown away. And now I wouldn't say it's sticky, but it's sticky enough to stick on the clear blocks. And this block is too small, but you see, and it sticks on there, and then you would stamp, and then when you're done and you've cleaned it, literally it goes back on here. What I like to do to keep them nice and organized is I take the sticker sheet, that's this, and I peel the stickers off and I stick them on the back of the case. So here's what I did. This is Flower Shop. I stuck the stickers on the back, and then I stick all of the stamps over that image. So if I'm pulling my stamp case out and want to quickly look and see what I want to do, I've got them all right there. I'm sure there's a million different ways you could do it, but that's how I do it. Some people take the stickers and put them literally on the back here, so that when they mount it onto their block, they can see through it and they can see the image. I don't really like to do that because I find it doesn't stick as well to the block. So for me, I just don't bother doing that. All right, so these are the rubber stamps. Now, the nice thing about the rubber stamps, because you might be wondering, well, why aren't they all rubber stamps, or why aren't they all photopolymer stamps? The rubber stamps, with rubber stamps, you can get a lot more detail. You can see the detail. So stamps that have a lot of detail in them are most of the time going to come in the red rubber, just for that reason. Photopolymer stamps, you can get detail, but it's not quite as much, and it's a little bit harder to get that. Okay, so now let me show you the photopolymer stamps. In the catalog, it'll say how many photopolymer stamps, and then at that point you just have one choice. There's not going to be two choices. And again, it tells you what size blocks you're going to need, and sometimes it'll say 2-step, and I'll show you in a little bit what that means too. And you'll only find 2-step stamping or 3-step, 4-step with the photopolymer stamps. So here's an example of some photopolymer stamps. So this one, Happy Birthday Gorgeous, I just got. So when it arrives, it's going to come like this. There's literally nothing in the case but this. And as you can see, they're clear, but we're going to call them, they are transparent, because I don't want you to get confused with the clear mount stamps, which are the rubber stamps. But these are transparent stamps. You can leave them on this sheet like this and just peel them off as you need. Once you peel the stamps off, you see it's printed. The words are printed on that sheet right there. But let me show you what I do, because I think just for me, this works a little bit easier. This is Best Birds here. This is another clear mount stamp set. What I like to do is I peel them all off and I stick them all to the back of the case so that when it's closed, I can see them all. And then I take that sheet that they were on and I slide it in here, the sheet with the images, just so that I can see all the images too, because since the stamps are clear, Sometimes it can be a little hard to read them, but it's not too bad. Also notice that with your photopolymer stamps, once you stamp them in ink, especially a dark ink, but any ink, they're going to get tinted. So you can see my bird there is kind of pink. This is kind of tinted. That's normal. Your photopolymer stamps will all be tinted, and that's perfectly normal. They get stained. This clear, it gets stained. All right, so let me show you our blocks. So you can, let me show you in the catalog actually. All right, on page 217 of this new catalog, the 2017-18 annual catalog, you'll see here, so you can buy all the blocks individually, and we have 9 blocks, A through I, and there's prices for each one, or you can bundle them, and you can save 10% by buying all of the blocks at once. And then we also have this nifty storage caddy if you own all the blocks. But some people don't want to own all the blocks. You might want to own multiple of one size. That's totally up to you. I find owning one set of all of them works really well for me, but you can just decide how you want to do it. So the storage caddy looks like this. It's kind of hard for me to get in the full screen, but it comes small like this. It's a really nifty case. And then you open it up, and all the blocks are in here. So one side, 2 sides, see that? I've pulled a few of the blocks out. They have these foam pieces in between, so it keeps your blocks nice and protected. I love our blocks. There's a million blocks out on the market, but I love our blocks because they come with this rim, so they're really easy to grip. They all have which block they are. This is a C block, so you can see that real well, and I just find them really easy to use, and they're really easy to keep clean too. All right, so let me show you an example of some stamping. So here I just have a scrap piece of Whisper white cardstock. And if I was going to take one of the rubber stamps, and I don't have them mounted on one block, which I don't have any of my stamps that way, you just grab it out, you find the block that's the right size, stick it on your block, press, and there we go. And I think I'll stamp with Flirty Flamingo. All right, so I'm going to ink that up. So I don't want to like press super hard. I just want to get it inked up, but I don't want to get ink. I just want ink on the part that's going to stamp. If you press really hard, you're going to get ink around the other parts, and then you'll just end up with a mess. So you just kind of stamp, okay, and then I put it on my paper, press straight down. I don't rock the stamp or anything. I just press down and lift up, and look at that, perfect. The rubber stamps do stamp really nicely. So pretty. All right, and so I'm going to grab my Stampin' Scrub. This is a must-have for any stamper, regardless of where you get your stamps from. This is so nice to have, and it stores. It's very skinny, and it's easy to portable and move around. One side has little raindrops, and one side has nothing on it. So that means the wet side and the dry side. You spray the cleaner on there, and it stays wet for several hours. Rub, dry. Now my stamp is clean and ready to put away. And literally, I peel it off, put it back in the case, done. Okay. All right, so that's the rubber stamp. Now the one limitation with the rubber stamps is you're not going to have any 2-step stamping or anything like that because we can't really see through them. So that's where the photopolymer stamps come in. And I'm going to show you using Best Birds here some things you can do. So the first thing is, let me grab a block, and let's grab this bird right here. All right. Now, with the photopolymer stamps, especially if you're using a stamp that's bigger, so I would say anything bigger than probably, anything that's bigger than probably the C block, but I use it all the time, you're going to want to use a foam mat. The photopolymer stamps, for whatever reason, stamp better when they have a foam mat under them. The middle part, it's easier for the paper to grab the ink. So I'm going to ink this up. Now the nice thing with these is I can see through it, so I can tell if my stamp is all inked up. And I can see if any part is missing ink. I see it's all inked up. I will just put it where I want it. Again, since it's clear, I can see exactly where it's going on my paper. And I straight down, I press, I don't rock, and then I lift straight up. There we go, perfect. And again, I grab my scrub, dry, and this stamp is clean, ready to be put away. All right, now another cool thing that the photopolymer stamps can do, so this is a tree branch, probably, you know, meant for the bird to stand on or whatever you want to do. But let's say I'm doing a project and for whatever reason I want this and I want it like this. Well, see, these stamps are bendy. So you can twist them and turn them and make them whatever way you want. So I'm going to ink that up. Okay. And I want it right here in my corner. Stamp, press, straight down, lift. Look at that. Perfect. You see that? And again, scrub, clean it off, and put it back. So that's another cool thing about the photopolymer stamps is you can make them do different things. Another thing I like to do with the photopolymer stamps is sometimes you'll want to line things up exactly like you're going to be stamping several cards in a row or something like that. Let me grab a different stamp set and I'll show you what I mean. This is the Happy Birthday Gorgeous stamp set, and I haven't actually even pulled these out yet, but let's say I want to line up something. So I want this right here, hip hip hooray. I want that right there next to the bird, and I can put it exactly where I want it. Hip hip hooray, and I'm gonna want you look gorgeous. Well, let's see. Let's just go with the hip hip hooray, and I want this. What would make sense right here? Well, none of this is going to make sense, but let's say I want to put this flower, and I don't know why you would ever do that, but let's say we want to put this flower right here under the bird. All right, so then I can just take a block. I've already lined them up where I want them exactly. Actually, let's do it up here by the flower. The bird just doesn't make any sense to me. So I want it to say hip hip hooray right over that, and I want to stamp another flower right in the middle of that flower. Okay. I can do that. I can take a block now and put it over the top. Now it's exactly how I want it. I'm going to grab my black ink. Ink that up. And get that exactly where I wanted it again, right in the middle. Stamp and lift. There, see? So that's something else you can do. So since I can see through, I can put many. That works really well too if you're wanting to make a certain background on your paper. You can use one of the bigger blocks. I found that to be really helpful. Okay, now the last thing I want to show you is called two-step stamping. So you'll see that a lot in the catalog. And typically what that means is there's going to be you're going to have to stamp twice for the same image. So on this one, you'll see a lot of times there's a darker and then something that goes over the top. See this one, there's this darker flower, and then there's this one we just used. These two go together. So it's usually pretty easy to see what goes together, and I'll show you how they work. Actually, I'm going to show you with these two right here. Okay. Now, another thing you want to notice on most of our newer stamps, you see how they have little arrows pointing up? That's so it's easy to line them up on top of each other, and I'll show you what I mean. So, if I start with this little guy, I'm going to just use my A block here. And I'm going to ink this up in the Flirty Flamingo again. So let me grab that. And I want to make sure I pay attention to which way my arrow is facing. So my arrow is facing up. And I'm just going to stamp this right here. Okay, perfect. Now, let me clean that off. Now I want to take the second part of the two-step stamp, make sure my arrow is facing up again. And this time I'm going to stamp it in black. Sorry about that. I use my phone to video and, you know, people call it. Okay, so I'm going to stamp this in black. And now again, my arrow is pointing up. That way I know exactly how this stamp lines up on this one. And I put it right over the top and stamp. And there we go. Now see, I didn't get a very good image there. I didn't make sure my stamp was inked up all the way. And that sometimes is an issue with the photopolymer stamps. So let me try that one more time. So I stamp this one. Stamp. All right, and then stamp this one. This time I'm going to look and make sure it's all inked up. Stamp, stamp. Okay. And now I can see ink on the whole thing. All right, and line it up and stamp. There we go, much better. Okay, so that would be two-step stamping. But a lot of times, I'll show you what's even cooler. You take your base stamp and you would ink it up. Then you would stamp off onto a piece of scrap paper. So right here I'll stamp off and then I'll stamp. Okay, so see how it's light? And then you take your second stamp, ink it up in the same color, and then go over the top. There we go. So pretty. So there's a lot of different things, and almost all of our photopolymer stamp sets have two-step stamping on them now. So I think it's really cool, and there's a lot of different things you can do with that. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this little video showing the difference between the photopolymer stamps and the red rubber stamps, and it helps you make a better decision when you're deciding what to buy. Make sure you visit me at a2zstamping.com and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks, guys. Bye.